Frankly Speaking, live here on webcast1live.com. I'm Dave Kanyuk, sitting in here. Jason is on assignment tonight. Actually, he's got a new show opening. So joining us for the run for tonight will be the founding father of not Webcast One, but the founding. I made that mistake last time you sat in, Frank. But we got Frank the Verse Holzhauser here. That's right, the founder of Frankly Speaking Live, sitting in with us tonight. How goes it tonight, Frank?
Oh, pretty good. Had a pretty full week.
Yeah.
So I was about ready to bust out of here when you come walking in.
I came busting in.
When you come busting in, and I said, well, I'll hang around a bit and
see what kind of trouble Dave gets into.
And see what kind of trouble he gets into and keep you company.
I know. My brain is like so foggy today, so it's serendipitous that you're here to kind of clear that away. So what's been new? You've been you're still on Mac's show.
We have changed.
You've changed.
Yeah. We went to 2 hours, the drive slot.
Right. I heard about that.
And that's because we took over the Steve Deace 2 hour afternoon drive time. Steve will be rejoining the network on November the 2nd, and he'll be, I don't know if it's a live or a tape-delayed broadcast, but it'll be 8 to 11.
Now, what happened with that? How come he?
I'm not sure of all the details, and so I don't. Without going around spreading rumors, I just think that there was a what do they say?
He's a communist.
Well, amicable split between him and the USA Network.
Oh, okay.
That I think neither one was satisfied with the other, and so he's, I think, taking his business elsewhere.
Interesting.
But then they had Steve Noble subbing in for about a month, and then we officially took over the. I think this is the complete third week, I believe, that we've had the 2 hour drive time.
Yeah, how's that going?
Pretty good. I'm in here 5 days a week.
Wow.
I
saw the cot in the back, actually.
Yeah. I was producing 2 days, but Ryan wanted to take one of the days back. So I said,
selfish.
Well, then they was going to have Ron from the radio studio that was going to do the first hour, and then us guys was going to do the second. Well, I thought, listen, I don't want to confuse myself, so I just soon do the 2 hours myself. Plus, I do Urbandale Commerce, Chamber of Commerce on Tuesday, too.
Right. That's riveting.
That's riveting. And so it ended up that I think Ron decided that that just wasn't his cup of tea. He's an audio man only.
Are you ever worried doing Urbandale Chamber of Commerce that you're going to eventually run out of the businesses in Urbandale? You've covered every business. There's nothing left to cover.
Well, apparently,
you're going to have to move to Windsor Heights.
Well, apparently anyone can join Urbandale Chamber of Commerce.
Oh,
so
really?
Businesses from outside.
Those rejection letters they've been sending me, I guess, were fraudulent.
So if you got a business, you can sign up for coffee and cookies every Friday from Fredericks and talk to Mary
Hollywood.
Talk to Mary Harkin. And she'll just set you up.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, on Tuesday, so I was just doing the 2 hours myself instead of having Ron do the first and then me jump in cold turkey. I just been doing the 2 hours. Well, then it ended up Ron decided that wasn't his cup of tea. He's an audio man basically only. And so now Ryan's doing the 2 hours 4 days a week, and I'm doing the 2 hours on Tuesday.
Wow. Well, that's very good. It's nice to see that you're keeping busy.
Oh yeah, I've been getting a lot of airtime this week. Don't know particularly why. I guess Mac has been feeling extra generous.
Well, we're nearing Christmas, so I guess even Uncle Scrooge got a little generous around Christmas. I can't say that. I've never actually met Mac. He refuses to meet me. I can't say that actually. I've never asked to meet him. So.
Well, you just have to pop in here someday and make yourself seen and known about
maybe
3 o'clock. Sit in with us. Anybody's welcome to come in and sit in.
Well, I've got some time off Tuesday. Maybe I'll come in Tuesday, hit up that Urbandale Chamber.
Yeah, that kicks off about 2 o'clock, and he'll give those individuals anywhere from 5 to 12 minutes apiece to kind of talk about their business, talk about the passions in their lives that might help them create the business.
What if my business is giving people to business?
Well,
and business is good.
Then business is good. Then you could sit down and talk about your passion.
Really just in this for the milk and cookies. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. All right. Anyway, let's get on point here. I haven't been paying as much attention to current events. I know we just had the latest debates on CNBC, which was a grand fiasco from everything that I've heard. Great points from people like Ted Cruz. It's like, why are you throwing these idiotic questions out about fantasy football and asking Donald Trump if he's a comic book villain, things like that, when you throw softball questions to the Democrats?
Well, I heard a great suggestion by somebody, and I've got some, from Newt Gingrich talking about, hey, let's get some Lincoln Douglas style debates together. No moderators, just let two people or however many people hammer it out. They'll talk it out amongst themselves. But somebody, and I can't remember who this week, brought up an interesting suggestion. Take the complete time of the debate, split it up among the participants, get rid of the moderators.
Mm-hmm.
Let them people use that. If it's, 10 minutes, 12 minutes. The other night, Rand Paul got the least time at 7 minutes, and Carly Fiorina got the most time at 10 minutes and 32 seconds, and everything else was in between those two. So divide that time equally and let everybody decide what they want to do with their 10 minutes. If they want to just sit there and pontificate for 10 minutes, let them do it. If they want to interchange with somebody else on the stage, like two bodybuilders getting next to each other and flexing their muscles to show the differences between calf development or bicep, tricep, etc., whatever they want to spend their time on, let them do it. And quit interrupting. That was a fiasco the other night. And I'm not against tough questions.
But there's a certain level of question that's just meant to be degrading.
Well, it was insultive. It was snide, it was snarky, it was interruptive, it was rude. I mean, you just take the same questions and take the insultive nature or the snarky nature off, ask the same question.
Right. Well, the problem is you don't have real journalists anymore. Well, you have corporate stooges.
Sure.
Corporate partisan stooges who, they think that they're doing some great work by defending the Democratic Party when at the upper levels.
And then Ted Cruz made the point, and I know, I suppose he might have been taking some notes. I don't know that it was totally offhand, but he contrasted it, as we all should, to the Democratic debate.
Right.
Was any of those same questions asked of the Democrats in the manner in which they asked them?
Nope, not at all.
And this Harwood, I didn't know much about the other two, the Becky and the Carl, Becky Quick and Carl something. But I know John Harwood is a frequent contributor to the Chris Matthews Hardball Show, and he is a committed leftist. I mean, he's a committed, angry, bitter, snide, snarky, insultive leftist. Why would the Republicans even allow somebody like that to participate in the debate?
Well, the debates are run by the Republican and Democratic Party. It used to be, I think researcher Wayne Madsen was talking about this on the radio. It used to be run by the League of Women Voters. The great Kennedy versus Nixon debate, that was all done from the League of Women Voters, and those were all questions that were formulated by them. And then they had a member of the press that was there to present those questions to the candidates. So it would be nice if there was an independent body, because these aren't independent debates. These are debates that are run by the two-party system.
Well, understand this. I don't care if you have a bias, truthfully, because everyone's got one. Everybody's got an opinion, an a-hole, and a bias. So I don't care that you got a bias. Just disclose your bias so that we know how to digest what it is you're feeding us.
Sure.
Without
disclosing your a-hole.
Well, sure. Exactly.
I don't need that disclosed.
Let's not do that.
You just offended like the 5 people on the planet who don't have one.
Well, yes, there are some people
I hope we get that one call that's like, I don't have one.
Well, there's people
that know how painful this is.
Clearly.
He's German, obviously.
Clearly born without them. But no, I'm just saying that I don't care what you're coming from, what political part of the spectrum you're coming from, because I'm not one of these hear no evil, see no evil, know no evil kind of people. I will listen to everybody's point of view. I'm just saying, tell me the slant, tell me you're the bias in which you're giving it to me.
Well, I think that's up to you to figure out. I mean, nobody's going to come out and say, hey, I am for killing all red people.
In the interest, let me say one thing. I know you're not a great fan of Fox News, but, Sean...
I think Fox News has proven itself. They've proven their bias, that they're in the pocket of the Republican
sure,
establishment.
I'm not saying they don't have a bias, but let me give you an example of Sean Hannity. He at least comes on and he says, hey, look, here's what I am, take it or leave it. And in the interest of disclosure, I know you're a fan of Rand Paul. I don't know if you're going to support him, what your stance is on this time, but Sean gives Rand all the time Rand wants. I mean, Rand is probably one of the more frequent appearers on Sean Hannity's show. So what I'm saying is, at least Hannity will acknowledge his bias. How about Chris Matthews acknowledging his?
Well, I think he does. He just doesn't do it as intellectually profound, maybe, as Sean Hannity. Certainly that bias is exposed when he talks about Obama giving him a thrill up his leg. I mean, that's how much more naked with your bias.
Well, sure, but I guess I'm saying that Chris is a leftist, so just say, hey, I'm a leftist. I'm proud to be one. Bernie Sanders, hate him or like him, is at least acknowledging he's a communist.
Yeah. Gosh, Bernie Sanders, that's a whole other. Being in the acting community, it's so frustrating to see. I have to stay off of social media for now. I have to. It's so frustrating to see all these people and how much love they have for Bernie Sanders. And Bernie, there are things that I have agreed with Bernie Sanders on. I would say he's about 80% buffoon, 20% okay guy. What I would have hope for if Bernie were to get the Democratic nomination is maybe the discourse can be a little less, I don't want to say violent, but a little less militaristic.
Combative?
Right, between the two parties. Sure. Maybe we can actually get back to being two parties and having thoughtful discussions. Here's the thing that gets me about Bernie, taking one of his position points, raising the minimum wage, right?
Right.
Now, why does anyone want the minimum wage? Why does anyone want the minimum wage raised? Say that 5 times.
Yeah, real quick.
So why would you want that raised?
Well,
just quick
you
answer.
would want to supposedly, quote unquote, help the poor.
Sure. You want it raised because it costs a lot to live, and people who are in those bad jobs, they're not making ends meet. The cost of living is too high, is what it basically boils down to. So throw more money at them.
Right.
Okay, great. You've thrown more money. What is the minimum wage now? Like $7.75 or something around there?
Okay,
so we're essentially doubling the minimum wage. So great. Now you're paying these people more money. The problem is that the people who are advocating this, they don't seem to have an overview of history.
Yeah.
They don't seem to realize that we've had this problem before and we've raised the minimum wage in the past. It's been more incremental than what they're proposing now with an absolute doubling in the minimum wage. But we have had this thing in the past. I remember when it went from $5 up to the $7 amounts, and it's been stagnant at $7 before. But what were the arguments for raising the minimum wage then?
Well, I'm old enough to remember minimum wage at $1.60.
Sure. And they've had to keep raising it. So every time they've raised that minimum wage, what has been that argument?
Everything goes up accordingly.
Yes, exactly. It costs too much to live. Everything is priced too high, so we need more money. So what they're doing is they're putting this Band-Aid over the root problem. And that root problem, that's not solving the cycle of prices rising.
Sure.
It's just you're feeding more money into the problem and kind of kicking that can down the road. They're not looking at the overall issue.
Well, if you heard Ted Cruz in the debate the other night talking about our monetary system and our overinflated money from the Fed,
right?
It's the problem. The Fed should be. We should kick the chairman out of the Fed tomorrow.
We should abolish the Fed. We should abolish the Fed.
We should
because that's where the debt
abolish the Fed messing around with interest rates.
All right, well, let's hold off. We're coming up on our first break. I want to finish up with that point and then move on to some other stuff. You're watching Frankly Speaking live here on webcast1live.com. I'm Dave Kanyuk. That's Frank Holzhauser. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Stay tuned.
Live.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
The only way we come to know the Saviorship of Jesus Christ is by bowing and acknowledging that He is Lord and King over all the earth.
Jesus Christ died on a cross, paid the penalty for our sin, and by repenting of our sin and accepting Him by faith, what He did for us, we are forgiven.
Salvation is not a combination of faith and works. Salvation is by faith alone in God.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking Live here on webcast1live.com. I'm Dave Kanyuk. That is Frank Holzhauser. If you want to join in and chat with us, we're very friendly. We'd love to talk. Give us a call at 515-244-0077. Again, that's 515-244-0077.
And in the interest of disclosure, Matt gave me a new job today.
What?
Yeah.
What is your title?
Along with the other jobs, I was a caller.
Hey, Frank, I need you to come in here.
Then I was a co-host, and then I started producing.
Got some gum on the walls I need to scrape off.
I've been talking so much this week that he says every time you talk, you got to give out the call number.
Oh, there you go.
So I said, if anyone out there disagrees with the verse today, be sure and call in at 515-244-0077. And
right here on Webcast One Live.
Webcast One Live. And Mac's like, he says, see what I have to deal with?
Terrible, terrible. Back to the man cave. So what do you think of, we had a minor, well, not a minor victory. We had a pretty big victory a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't get a chance to do a show that week. I was going to bring in Champagne, actually, when Boner was ousted. And now we're stuck with Paul Ryan.
Well, I told you it's been well. Here's something that I want to take up with you. I mean, I hope it doesn't offend you, but I'll get to that.
Is it pinochle?
In a second.
Yeah.
But it pertains to it pertains to John Boehner and the congressional vote that happened that I happened to watch the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I didn't realize it went down the way it went down. But I remember talking to you or us having a conversation when Eric Cantor got cantored. I guess Boehner got cantored in essence, because the 40 or 50 people in the party that just want to defy everything Obama has done, Boehner was not cooperating. And so Boehner just said, okay, I'm going to get out of the way because I'm not, basically I'm not making anybody happy, so I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried to trial balloon a couple of people, and Kevin McCarthy put his foot in his mouth. And so I guess reluctantly...
I don't think it was very reluctant. I think it was more shoved down people's throats.
Well,
and
yeah,
this was the only option that was really allowed.
I kind of think that there was some of that. But go ahead and give me your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I think it's terrible. I think it's going to be Boner Part 2. This guy is a full open borders guy. There's a article I was going to refer to, Paul Ryan's Open Borders Push, with Luis Gutierrez, was exposed in a 2013 video. Representative Luis Gutierrez's endorsement of Representative Paul Ryan for Speaker of the House has drawn new attention to Ryan's 2-decade history of pushing for open borders immigration policies. A previously little noticed 2013 video of Ryan and Gutierrez stumping for Senator Marco Rubio's amnesty bill, in which the two make a candid pitch for unlimited immigration, shows just how far Ryan is willing to go to push for open border policies. In the wide-ranging 53-minute video, which took place in Chicago, both Gutierrez and Ryan outline their shared plan for adopting open borders. That is a national policy of allowing companies to bring in and hire as many foreign workers as they would like. This free movement of people across national boundaries is the centerpiece of the open borders ideology to which Ryan has devoted much of his career. The video is entitled Representative Paul Ryan and Representative Luis Gutierrez Push for Immigration Reform. The two congressional partners lay out an immigration plan that is far more radical in scope than many would have imagined, and absent from virtually all major media coverage of the Ryan speakership push. The video gives fresh insight into what legislation Paul Ryan would advance, and what legislation he would block if given the speaker gavel, which he has been. In the video, Ryan begins by adopting a left-wing narrative about GOP voters and suggesting that their opposition to mass immigration is fueled by, quote-unquote, ignorance. He says that Ryan rejects the idea that America is a country, i.e. a land with a fixed border and heritage, but instead an idea, since ideas don't have borders. And I think that's really interesting. It's so... He calls people who are against this open border policy ignorant, but you can't preserve the idea of America if you flood it with people who do not share that same ideal. America, yes, is an idea, but it is an idea represented by people who share the same idea, who share a common heritage, and that gets back into the old melting pot analogy that we had so many years ago about America being a melting pot, because when you put the individual pieces into the melting pot, it comes out as a new, whole, singular piece, as opposed to what the regressive liberal establishment tries to push out now, which is that America should be viewed as a fruit salad, and you dump that bowl out, and you got the watermelons over here, the cherries over here, et cetera, et cetera.
Strobe Talbot was an advisor to the Clinton administration that basically put forth the notion that he is not a citizen of a country, but a citizen of the world. Mm-hmm. So he advocates a world without borders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I suppose a common monetary system, whatever that leads. But I've often in jest tossed out this theory about our issues with Mexico. Why not just annex Mexico as the 51st state of the Union? And then you get down to the little peninsula between North America and South America. That looks like it'd be a lot less border to guard, than the 1,300-mile border that we have that we're guarding now.
That's not the point. If you annex them as a 51st state, then you're annexing millions and millions and millions of people who are instantly going to be applying for welfare, as they do now when they come over the border. You're going to be annexing a whole different culture, a whole different heritage that is not an American heritage.
But they're taking over our country as it is anyway.
That's why we can't allow people like Paul Ryan to be the Speaker of the House. That's why we have to oppose these people.
Well, we got him, And
we got him, but we can get rid of him.
Well, sure.
And when I say keep fighting, that's why Boner was removed, was because he wouldn't fight.
Sure. And I agree with that. And I think that's the way the system ought to work. And I say that we have this knockdown, drag-out, fisticuffs debate under our roof and under our house. But when we come out in the chamber and we're going to vote, I see it as silliness for 9 people to vote for Webster.
I don't.
Well, I'll tell you why I do. Because I didn't realize this was the process. That, in other words, I thought that the Speaker of the House was chosen by the people of their own party, which they are, because in essence, the ones that are in power is the ones that chooses the leader if they vote a party line vote. But also Nancy Pelosi's line her name is thrown in the ring. Mm-hmm. Now, I can parse a hair between Pelosi and Ryan. I don't know if you can, but keep in mind that the Speaker of the House, for some reason, is third in line to be president. I don't want Nancy Pelosi nowhere near the presidency of the United States. If Biden and Obama was to get assassinated, Ryan is third in line to be president.
I don't want either one of them to be third in line to be president. I mean, there's really no difference between the Republicans and the Democratic Party at the upper levels. That's why it's so important when you have these 50 patriots who come in and help throw out somebody who has been working against an American agenda, like John Boner. That's why you have to support them, and that's why you don't continue to support people like Paul Ryan, because there is no difference between Nancy.
What if you could get 50 Republicans to go for Webster, and you risk putting Pelosi as Speaker of the House? Now, I don't know if that's a mandatory 218, that they got to keep voting until they get 218, or at some point, whoever has the most votes is Speaker of the House. I'm not sure the exact process. But what I'm saying is those 9 people are saying it's okay with them that Nancy Pelosi could become the Speaker of the House. And I say you do all your internal squabbles in your house. You beat the crap out of each other. You knock each other's teeth out. As these 50, this group of 50 or whatever, the Tea Party, et cetera, should do. They should go in there and just beat John Boehner's head, bash his head against the wall, knock his teeth out, figuratively. But when you come out and you vote in the hall, be in harmony with one another. Why? Because it's a non-vote.
Why should they be in harmony with everybody when the Republican Party as a whole spends more of its time fighting against the libertarian grassroots supporters of its party, the foundations of its party, the people that they go to and leech off of every few years to get money and votes? They spend more time fighting over the fighting against the libertarian grassroots wing of the Republican Party than they do fighting the supposedly evil Democrats.
But to me, it's just.
And I say supposedly as a as part of the left-right paradigm, is that they're the bad guys, et cetera, et cetera.
Because I hate this. What I really despise is people like Michelle Bachmann, who says, well, I didn't vote for this. Well, that's an easy vote when 200 or 50 of your other comrades are going to bite the bullet for you, and you're going to run for president, so you're going to throw down a no vote so you can go out there and say, hey, I didn't vote for this.
Maybe that's putting principle ahead of other things.
This is where we'll part company, because I'm all for principle, but as I said, you do your principle under your roof. But what I'm saying is wait. All those 9 people. No. Let me again going back to what I said. Do all your fighting and all your principle under your roof, but when you come out in public, you got to have some camaraderie, because it's the guy whether you like him or not. All I'm saying is those 9 people, all they can say is they're going to go home to their constituency and say, well, I didn't vote for him.
And I would say good.
But it's going to happen whether they say that or not.
Let's get to how you think you should leave principle under the roof. What was your opinion of Kim Davis?
No, I'm not talking about that.
No. What was your opinion of Kim Davis? Should she have put her principle under the roof?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you're a member of some party. If you want to stand alone as an individual, you stand your principles wherever you want to stand. But if you're going to fly under the banner,
she was an elected representative of the state, though. So she was representing everybody in Kentucky.
Again, that's fine. But,
or at least of that
but
county.
I'm a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Our founding emphasis is on a health message. We had a guy selling our books, canvassing our literature, and he was like a literature evangelist, a call porter. Smoking is something that our church teaches to abstain from. We got a guy out selling our health books, and he comes running around the corner in the 1970s with his suit on that he's out literature evangelizing, call portering, and he's smoking a cigarette. Now I had, that if he's just a layman of the church, no problem, because we all have sins, we all have shortcomings. So I wouldn't say anything if he was just a member of the church, but he's a representative of our church. So I took it to the pastor and I said, hey, look, I don't want to, we all got sins. I'm not trying to cast no aspersions. I get, pull splinters out of his eye, and I got a log in my own. But this guy's a representative of our church. So all I'm saying is, if I'm going to fly under the banner of the Seventh-day Adventist organization, I need to adhere by their rules a little bit. So all I'm saying is if these guys are Republicans, you're going to have to fly under that banner.
Here's the thing.
Now, if you want to go be something else, be something else. And I'm fine with you standing on your principles if you want to.
Here's the thing, Frank. You're looking at it the wrong way. You're looking at it as the people who are trying to kick Boehner out and who are voting against Paul Ryan as not flying under the Republican banner. But when you actually look at the Republican Party plank, what the Republican Party supposedly stand for, it is those people who are standing for the principles of the Republican Party.
And
people
I don't
like
disagree
Boehner,
with that.
People like Bush, people like McCain, people like Lindsey Graham, people like Paul Ryan, people like Terry Branstad, people like David Young. Those are the people who are not standing for the principles.
That's right.
Those are the people who should be kicked out. That's what you call a wolf in sheep's clothing.
I agree with. I in essence agree with what you're saying. But what I have said to you, and where I've tried to I don't know. I don't want to say correct, because that's not really the word I want, but I'm trying to say make them reformations from within, because if you start dividing up into 3 and 4 parties, you're going to give the election, whether you want to or not, you're going to give it to Hillary. You're going to give it to Bernie. So you have to make these reforms like the Tea Party is doing by kicking Boehner out. You're doing it in-house. Mm-hmm. But when you come out in public, at least wrap your arms around the guy and say, okay, whether we like him or not, he's our guy, and vote for him. Then kick him out if he isn't doing the job.
Well, would you vote for Obama if he were a Republican?
No.
Why not?
Because he's not a Republican.
Exactly. Neither is Paul Ryan. We're coming up on break number 2, and you were watching Frankly Speaking live here on webcast1live.com. Stay tuned. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
All right, we were trying to come back with a video of a Russian drone flying over a suburb of Damascus, showing the complete devastation. Maddie, if you get that, if you could throw that up. So you make me throw up. I think, never mind. Anyway. I don't want to know what that means.
Well, no, she's got a baby, Spittle.
Oh, that's right. That's
Spittle.
right. Anyway, it's basically a video that was taken from a drone, just showing the utter devastation of what has happened in Syria. And Obama has announced today, Friday, of course, that, it's very interesting as well that he announced that we're staying in Afghanistan as well. He announced that about a week or two ago. So, by the way, we're just
I
gonna
think we've always been there.
Oh,
I mean,
we will always be there.
No, we have been there since.
Right, and we will always be there, as I've said, for years and years. But U.S. officials have confirmed today that Special Forces soldiers will be deployed on the ground in Syria, despite the fact that Obama promised he wouldn't deploy boots on the ground. A senior administration official told the BBC that there will be fewer than 50 forces deployed in the region to train, advise, and assist vetted opposition forces, which is total Bravo Sierra anyway, because there have been special forces on the ground for quite some time. And then as far as vetted moderate opposition forces, it has been debunked that there are moderate opposition forces. It has been absolutely debunked time and time again. This is what we're seeing in Syria, and this goes back to Benghazi, and we had the hearings with Hillary, but this is all about toppling Assad. This is all about destabilizing the region and installing another Islamicist ruler in that region.
Well, I wanted to say something about the Benghazi hearings, even though it's a little old. It's, according to Hillary, what difference does it make now? It's yesterday's news. But it basically comes down to this. In the hearings, she stated that, she was quizzed by Gowdy and Jim Jordan, several people who tried to give her a good, what's a prosecution. Mm-hmm. And she basically said that Chris Stevens and Sidney Blumenthal were both great friends of hers. She received hundreds of emails from Sidney Blumenthal. In fact, when Chris Stevens was in his bunker and couldn't get out of the country, she was forwarding emails to Chris Stevens, or she was forwarding emails to be forwarded to Chris Stevens of thoughts that Sidney Blumenthal had. While he was in his bunker, he's supposed to talk about the security in Benghazi.
Yeah.
There was 600 requests that fell on deaf ears, and she blows it off that, I didn't get these. These all went to the security professionals.
Exactly.
All right. Now, here's what she said under oath. And this is what the whole case rests on. That Chris Stevens did not have her cell phone, her email, or fax number. Now, if you're right, and I have no doubt to believe that you're not, that the NSA has this all.
Mm-hmm.
They have every electronic fax, email, or whatever that is transmitted in this world, probably. If that smoking gun is produced, that there was a direct communication between either a cell phone call to Hillary, a fax to Hillary, an email to Hillary, what are they going to do with that information?
That's why Hillary has destroyed all those emails. She made sure that she got rid of any correspondence that she had with Chris Stevens.
But can she destroy what the NSA has?
I think the NSA is in their pocket. I think the NSA is working for them. Why would the NSA turn on her?
Well, Tom Coates presents an interesting theory that they're going to challenge Hillary to get out of the race at some point and step aside for Joe Biden. This would be Joe Biden's way.
Biden's already said he's not doing it.
I know, but they can do things at the convention. If there's a split convention or there's something going on, they can override, that superdelegates can override with a candidate of their own. I don't know that it's totally unforeseen that Biden might not be the chosen one. But as a way to get somebody on the ballot that nobody would ever vote for, Ed Klein wrote in his book that Obama was selecting his own mini-me to run for the presidency. I don't believe that mini-me is Hillary.
No.
And I don't believe that that Joe Biden is smart enough to be the mini-me. So could it be that Uncle Joe is drafted in, kicking and screaming? His poll numbers would go down as soon as he announced his campaign. Even though his poll numbers are high now, they would sink like a rock as soon as, because all the old stories would come up. That he would either put, Tom Coates says Elizabeth Warren, but I've also thrown out Valerie Jarrett, Iranian-born Valerie Jarrett, or how about a slap in the face of American Susan Rice as VP candidate? And then mysteriously Uncle Joe, after a couple years, gets an illness or says he's not going to run the second term. Then automatically this vice president would step in as, hey, the president. And nobody ever really votes for him.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's always a possibility. I still don't know for sure if I think Obama is leaving. I've said many times that Obama's not leaving office. If he does leave office, then his objective is going to be to become the Secretary General of the UN.
Sure, absolutely.
And that seems like the beast ascending to me. I don't know about you.
Well, yes, I'm not disputing that could not possibly happen. I think Mac has even tossed out that thought that he would be head of the UN.
Right. But the thing is, I don't know if we're ever going to get to the truth. And this is why most of the Benghazi hearing was political theater. We're never really going to get to the truth of what actually happened in Benghazi. I mean, the truth is out there. We know the truth, but it's not the officially confirmed truth.
Well,
and that
sure.
is that this was not an embassy. This was a CIA station house in Benghazi. And Chris Stevens was getting cold feet because he saw the weapons flow through that was going through. And this weapons flow through was going to arm the moderate Syrian rebels that eventually became ISIS in our proxy war in Syria. And he got cold feet, and that's why all those emails were destroyed, because they can't have it coming out in the mainstream media that we funded ISIS. And I don't even know what difference that would make at this point. The American public seems so far gone.
Now you sound like Hillary. What difference does it?
I was just thinking about that. I was just thinking as I was saying it. But what do you think the American public's reaction would be if I can't even name, Lester Holt came on NBC News, and it's official that the American government funded ISIS.
Well, Charles Krauthammer has, I think it's acknowledged. I mean, I don't know publicly like a tsunami, but I think it's known that weapons it was a weapons depot.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that I don't think that's a top secret, but.
And what's really frustrating is we're told to look at the Russians as the bad guys for going into Syria and going after ISIS, what we supposedly have been doing for years and years.
But
the big issue, the reason we're mad is because they're going up and mopping our proxy fighters.
But here's what I've been saying to you. I mean, because I know, like, again, you're not the greatest fan of Fox News, but Fox News is the only one that's even remotely trying to keep the story alive.
Right.
Whether they got the story right, in your opinion, or not, that's up to debate. But at least they're keeping the story alive so that somebody come on and help us.
Right.
Susan Atkinson, somebody jump in.
The problem is they're keeping it alive with the bungling of the security aspect of it, but they're not digging deep into us funding ISIS, because that would open the door to a lot of other very uncomfortable questions about just what are we doing with this war on terror, and were the 9/11 truthers right all along?
But here's the problem. As I understand, Syria is the only naval base that Russia had. Now, you know who controls the Mideast is going to control the oil. I don't want Russia in control of the oil. So I think the plan was to try to boot Putin and Russia out of Syria, and they was going to fund ISIS to overthrow Assad, and I think Russia pushed back.
Why didn't we just go to Assad and give him a killer deal? Why don't we just go give him a killer deal?
What, leave the country?
No. What's Russia giving you? Yeah, we'll double it.
Well, I think we've done that much.
Okay.
I think we've done that much for Gaddafi. We offered Gaddafi money to leave and go do something and go live somewhere and get the crap out of Libya.
And as crappy as Gaddafi was years and years, Gaddafi had kind of changed. It was more of a benevolent dictator, and that he was starting to give the wealth away and develop the region.
Well,
we didn't want that.
Most people agree, dance with the devil you know as opposed to the devil you don't. And I agree with that to a certain point. Even though these guys were hard-headed, at least you could deal with them.
Isn't it just apparent that the current administration, if you look at their actions, isn't it just readily apparent that this administration is run by a Wahhabist Muslim who is trying to put the people that conform to his ideals in power in the Middle East? Look at the actions of what happened in Egypt at the very beginning of the so-called Arab Spring, which was, an intelligence operation from us. When Mubarak was arrested and overthrown, and who was the guy who took over? Morsi?
Yeah, Morsi.
Yeah, Morsi took over. It was lauded as the greatest thing ever. Look at this push for democracy in Egypt. And then when it turned out that Morsi was a thug, that he was a Muslim Brotherhood member, and that Egypt was descending into a hellhole, and the people of Egypt, they stood up and they said no more. Millions of people in the street, coincidentally, on July 4th of, I believe, 2013 here in America, millions of people in the streets in Cairo, in the largest protest in human history, and the White House, who could have used that, capitalized on it for how very much like the American spirit it was, and how these are people standing up for freedom. The White House, however, said nothing because their Muslim Brotherhood buddy was getting thrown out.
I agree. I agree with some of what you're saying, but I don't know that you're totally grasping this premise that I'm trying to offer you. Is he who controls the oil controls the world? Because basically our economies, our monetary system, since we went away from the gold standard, whether that's good or bad, it hinges on oil. And I'm just saying I don't want Russia and Putin in there in having a bigger hand in oil production, because, all our allies from France, Germany, England, Israel, all import over 50 to 90% of their oil import. So not only do we have to band together to provide for each other's oil, but if China has said that they're willing to go to war for oil, and if their vendors get cut off, then they're in competition with our vendors. So what I think this was about all along was he who controls the oil controls the world. And I think that was the whole reason for trying to get rid of Assad, fund ISIS to do it, and then ISIS become a little too big for their britches, and then we got to knock ISIS down. So I agree with you to a point that sometimes we create our own Frankensteins. But what I've been trying to tell you all along since we've been on this show, sometimes we got to kill our own Frankensteins.
Well, I agree. We do have to kill our own Frankensteins, but I want to go after the people who created the Frankenstein in the first place. And I want to expose that we created the Frankenstein in the first place, because this is not the first Frankenstein that we've created.
Sure.
We created Al-Qaeda. We funded them.
To fight
the Mujahideen.
To fight Russia. Well, the Taliban we funded to fight Russia in Afghanistan.
Right. The Mujahideen was funded to fight Russia in Afghanistan. What I'm saying is, why don't we just stop creating these Frankensteins?
Well, we obviously got a lot of production of energy we could do in our own country, but I don't think you're accounting for the production that it takes to keep our allies afloat also, of Israel, England, France, and Germany. So, I mean, whether we want to go back to this, get rid of this umbrella that happened during World War II and the UN and all that stuff, that's a legitimate debate.
Aren't they sovereign nations that should have their own say in their
I've often said to my ex-Yugoslavian girlfriend, the reason why a lot of these places can afford universal health care is because they're not paying their fair share to defend themselves. We're doing it. I agree.
And I don't think we should. I don't think we should be defending them anymore. But the problem with Germany now is you're seeing this invasion. The problem with Germany and the Baltic states now is you're seeing this invasion of Muslim migrants, i.e. invaders coming in, who are oddly enough 80% men of fighting age. It's been admitted by caliphates over. Thank you, by the caliphate, that this is an invasion. They're talking about how they're telling their men to go over to Europe, have babies with European women, take the region over. They want to bring these Syrian refugees over here in Iowa.
Hey, that sounds like the Mexicans trying to take over our country without a shot.
Well, right, exactly. That's what it is.
No.
And you're having this dissolution of borders. And you know that these people are going to get radicalized as soon as they get in there and try and turn Germany, France, and all these places. They're going to try and impose Sharia law and turn them into little Muslim caliphates over there. And if they come over here, it's going to be the same exact thing.
I forget the guy that was on O'Reilly, and he handed him a video, and he said he wanted to watch him. I've been trying to find the guy's name. I can't seem to find the guy's name, but I think you might be interested in him. He advocated that Obama is precisely not, he wants this refugee crisis for a purpose.
Yes.
To get these people to just overrun Europe. And then when Europe can only take as much as they can possibly saturate, then naturally where else are they going to go? The good old US of A.
Right. And then when they start...
And he wants this radicalized movement here in the country.
He does. I agree 100%. And as soon as they start that radicalization process, and then naturally what's going to happen is those people are going to get, they're going to get wound up. They're going to get batty. They're going to start shooting people. They're going to start killing people. And then, and this has been what's been pushed out in Britain, actually, lots of think tanks have pushed this out, is that the best way to eradicate the Second Amendment in the United States is if we had it as a national security issue. If ISIS were in the U.S. and they were doing, a bunch of killings and everything, then it would be a crisis where even the most conservative among us would be tempted to give up our guns in order to combat ISIS. And that's why Obama's bringing them over.
Well, Angela Merkel said it a couple of years ago that multiculturalism is an absolute utter failure. They just can't.
That's fascinating. That is correct. And then she did say that. And then she's totally turning her back on that and encouraging all these people to come in.
But this is absolutely going to destroy Europe. It's going to destroy France. It's going to destroy Germany. And it's headed to our shores, and Obama wants it on our shores, is the reason why he wants this refugee crisis in Syria.
It does. He does, absolutely. And I think it goes back, I keep getting reminded of Albert Pike's supposed letter to Giuseppe Mazzini. Albert Pike was the founder of the Scottish Rites of Freemasonry, and he was an avowed Satanist. He was a Confederate general in the Civil War here in America. He's the only Confederate general that is has a statue in Washington. And you notice after all the rebel flag stuff, there was no talk about taking down the Albert Pike statue at all. But he supposedly wrote a letter to the head of the Italian Illuminati back in 1871, talking about the 3 world wars that would need to occur in order to bring about the reign of Lucifer on the planet. He said the First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the czars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. So that's pretty much what happened with World War I. He said the Second World War must be fomented by taking advantages of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm, which this did happen as well. And then he said that the Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere, the citizens, obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries, will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, that's those who are religious, and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of both Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Now, there's plenty of debate as to whether or not this letter was real. I first stumbled upon this 10 years ago on a website, 2005. And here's the thing, whether or not this letter was truly written by Albert Pike or not, it sure seems like that the powers that be are following this World War III blueprint to a T.
Well, I agree with you. We've talked about the mark of the beast on this program. I believe that God's final people will be a spiritual Israel, where there's no Jew, Greek, Gentile, circumcised or uncircumcised. So Christianity will be destroyed. Mm-hmm. Atheism will be destroyed, because there's only going to be 2 groups in this world. Mm-hmm. The harlot bride, the pure bride. You're going to be in one or two of those camps. So all the evil's on this side, all the one body of Christ is on this side. So the atheist isn't going to be able to just be an atheist anymore. Right. They're in the harlot.
That's the funny thing, especially there's like a couple of atheists that I see on Facebook. It's so funny how smug they are with their posts and everything. It's like, don't you realize that those in power who you support so adamantly, they're working for your destruction as well? They're working to eliminate your atheistic beliefs, because these people don't believe in nothing. These people do believe in something.
But quickly, it's interesting that the mark is in the forehead or the hand. Mm-hmm. Being that in the forehead, it's those who believe it. In the right hand, for those who are putting their hand to it out of fear to go along, to get along. So if you're an atheist, you're either going to believe it in your mind or you're going to put your hand to it to go along. Either way, you're in the harlot bride camp.
Do you think this refugee crisis could be the final social cataclysm, with all these invaders coming into Europe and then coming into America, even Iowa?
Well,
with Catholic charities,
it's going to be part of it. But I think we're potentially in World War III right now, as I've said before. I think it's a cyber war. I don't think it's going to be an all-out nuclear holocaust. Potentially, I think war is going on right now, and I think it's a world war, a worldwide war.
Absolutely right. World War III. I said it before, but I think World War III has already begun. It's just hasn't been fully announced. Anyway, that is it for Frankly Speaking tonight. I'm Dave Kanyuk. That is Frank Holzhauser. We'll be back next week here at 5:30 p.m. There's a whole lot I didn't get to. I'll have to feel like I need to do like an overrun show or something.
That's the way it is when you get with me.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next week. God bless. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you later.